and honor your ladies' time who are here and ready to go. So once again, Angie Gerber, welcome to day 2 of the masterclass for Thinking into Results. Today, we will be looking at the stick person. And again, how the subconscious mind works with the conscious mind and puts us into action or out of action. What I like to do is go right to the video to start with so that we can have the video running and then have some really good conversation around what we're seeing and what we're learning in the video. I've queued it up. It's not going to be the whole lesson, just the part that I wanted to focus on today, which is the secret genie. Wanted to give it one more minute to see if anyone jumps on before we start the video. I know Chris and Candace, you both were here yesterday for day 1. And maybe Rhonda or Stephanie, you watched the recording. Any ahas or any questions from yesterday or things that you want to maybe that you thought about after the call?
I haven't got a chance to watch the recording yet because I was working on an offer finally. Yep. Yeah. But I'm going to watch it after this.
Perfect. Good. Anyone else?
I guess I didn't have any questions, but I really found it helpful. And I think that a lot of things we have to understand is that, change is inevitable. And so that was one thing that stuck with me too. And then also just, living your fantasy or, dreaming it and being free to do that. So I like those things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love it. Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else?
I've just listened to this so many times and have been in your coaching group for 7 months now, I think. Mm-hmm. And I cannot tell, I cannot believe that I can still listen to this and pick up something new every single time.
Every single time. Absolutely. For sure. No, and that's the beautiful part of it is you're never the same person. So you're always going to be hearing this differently. So I love that. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, good. Well, I will go ahead and I know there's a couple people that will be popping in here shortly and we'll get the video going and then I'll meet you on the other side with some more great conversation. So let me just share my screen here. All right. Then we'll start off again. This is where we're going right into how we live in 3 planes. So we'll start here with the spiritual, intellect, and physical. So enjoy.
Doing millions of dollars volume. And he had absolutely no idea.
Let me get
Chicago at the time, and I heard about a man in Vancouver, British Columbia. Listen, open your mind. And then he smiled.
There we go.
He said, you are a spiritual being. You have an intellect and you live in a physical body. 3 different planes of understanding. And he said, the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. And he quoted Dr. J.B. Rhine from Duke, who was alive at the time. And Rhine probably did more study into the power of the mind than anyone alive. And Dr. Rhine said, the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. Now he said, tell me what your front door looks like. And I thought, how can he go from the mind to my front door? And I said, what's that got to do with it? He said, just listen to me. What does your front door look like? So I described it to him. He said, tell me what your car looks like. What color is it? I said, it's white. He said, is it big or small? I said, well, it's fairly big. Is there 2 doors, 4 doors? And I said, there are 4 doors. He said, what color is the interior? And I said, it's tan. He said, see, you can describe your front door and you can describe your car, can't you? He said, tell me what color your refrigerator is. So I told him. He said, is there 2 doors or 4 doors? I said, there's 2 doors. He said, top and bottom or sides? And I said, top and bottom. He said, do they open to the left to the right or the right to the left? And I sort of stared into space. He says, now you see, you've gone to your kitchen. You went into your kitchen and you mentally saw which way those doors open. Now he said, tell me what your mind looks like. I said, what? Tell me what your mind looks like. Well, I said, I don't know. Are you inclined to think of the brain when I asked you that? And I said, yeah. Your brain is not your mind any more than your fingernail is. He said, this is one of the great problems in life. No one has ever seen the mind. And yet it's the mind that has to be changed if you're going to change results. Now, he said, when I said, think of your door, he said, I activated vocal cords. I set up a sound. It's a light message. Your hearing sense picked it up. And that light message went screaming down a nerve passageway and struck a group of cells in your brain. Those cells increased in amplitude of vibration, and the picture that's in them flashed on the front of your mind. So as I said, your front door, like that, a picture of the door come up. And I said, your car, a picture of the car come up. Your refrigerator, picture of the refrigerator come up. But when I asked you to think of the mind, no picture. He said, you see, you have no cells of recognition for the mind. That's why people go in for analysis. They go for years. You know why? They're trying to change something. They don't have a picture. And you and I think in pictures. We think in pictures. When I asked you to think of the car, a picture come on the screen of the mind. Now, he said there was a doctor in San Antonio, Texas that understood that way back around 1934. And he said, you know, we've got a problem in the healing arts. He said, we're treating people physically. We're treating symptoms. And he said, until we treat the whole person, there's not going to be any health. Well, do you know, in corporations, we are treating symptoms. In business, we're treating symptoms. In sales, we're treating symptoms. We are not treating the cause of low profits. We're not treating the cause of low sales. And until we treat the primary cause, there's going to be no permanent change. And he pointed that out to me. He said, we've got to have a picture of the mind. Now, he said, I'm going to draw a picture. This is a picture that Dr. Thurman Fleet drew in 1934. And he said, this is the mind. Now he said, look at it. And you look, you might smile. You just see a couple of circles and a couple of lines. We call this the stick person. Now, I want you to let the large circle represent the mind and the small circle represent the body. Now, the mind controls the body. The body is an instrument of the mind. I want you to think. I want you to stop and think of the performance of some people that you know. You can choose yourself if you want. It's the way we act, it's the behavior that's going to determine the results. Some people, when they meet a stranger, are very shy and they pull back. Others are very gregarious and they got their hand out and ask the person all kinds of interesting questions. The behavior of people varies greatly. But the nature of people, they're exactly the same. See, the mind operates the same for the shy person as it does for the gregarious person. It's how the mind is programmed with the shy person that's so different from the gregarious one. And the mind is programmed both genetic and environmentally. That's how paradigms are formed. But we talk about a little more about that in another lesson. What I want you to focus on is this drawing again. Come back to the drawing. Now let's take that large circle and we'll put a line right through the center. And we'll say everything on the top half is referred to as the conscious mind. Everything on the bottom half is referred as the subconscious mind. And of course, the small circle on the bottom is the body. Now, this is what Val suggested I do. He said, I want you to let your head represent the mind. Everything from the neck down represent the body. Now, he said, that's not the way it is. Mind is in every cell of the body. Mind is movement, body's the manifestation of the movement. But we've got to have a picture to operate with. So the top half of the drawing is the conscious mind. That is the thinking mind. The bottom half is the subconscious, and that is the emotional mind. And of course, it's what's going on in the emotional mind that's going to determine what the body does. How do the ideas get into the emotional mind? Well, we put them there. Now, you see, there is a great power that's flowing to and through us, and it never stops. And as this power flows into the consciousness, we have the ability to think. Do you know what the problem with most people is? They don't think. Do you see those little lines growing out of the conscious mind? They're called sensory factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And the sensory factors is what feeds information into the consciousness from the outside world. Now, we have been conditioned to live through those sensory factors. We've been conditioned to go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. As little kids in school, we get a report card. And the report card tells us what kind of student we are. And so we look at the report card, the teacher looks at the report card, we take it home, the parent looks at the report card, and that tells us what kind of a student we are, doesn't it? The truth is, it really doesn't. But that's the belief system we're operating with. The report card actually tells us where our mind was at for a few minutes, maybe 3 weeks ago. It has absolutely nothing to do with potential, but that's what the child believes. That's what the parent believes. And then we start treating them according to the grades they got on the card. Now, that's rather sad because when we leave school, we let the sales sheets dictate what kind of a salesperson we are. We let the balance sheet dictate what kind of an organization we are. If we let the balance sheet control everything we plan to do, the balance sheet is the report card. It just tells us what was going on in the past. It has absolutely no bearing with what's going to go on in the future unless we let it. And unfortunately, we've been letting it. You see, this little stick person here that we're looking at is every person. That's every person in an organization. And as the people start to understand how their mind operates and why they're doing what they're doing, I guarantee you the report card will change. It will change so dramatically, it will shock the person. And that's what happened to me. Here was a guy with no formal education, no business experience, a very poor work record. And like that, he was building a company that operated in a number of different cities, in 3 different countries, doing millions of dollars volume. And he had absolutely no idea what he was doing. He was operating with a picture. He had a picture in his mind of what he wanted, and through repetition, he planted that picture in the subconscious mind. And what was planted in the subconscious mind had to move into form. All right, now let's pay real close attention to this graphic illustration, because this is really the creative process and how it all works. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. This is your thinking mind, and this is where dreams are built. And you take those dreams and you impress them upon your subconscious mind. Now, this is what causes the feeling in your consciousness. This is how you get emotionally involved in the idea. Those emotions then are expressed with and through the body, and that's what causes the body to change in its state of vibration. As the vibration changes, the action changes. And when your action changes, the universe reacts to that. It's action-reaction. The reaction alters your conditions, your circumstance, and your environment, or, as we say, your results. Now, that is a process. If you go through that a number of times, just keep playing this over and over again until it's indelibly printed on the screen of your mind. Then when you find that you're not feeling good, you know that you're emotionally involved with the wrong idea. Or if you find the things that are coming into your life are not to your liking, you've got to ask yourself, how am I acting? What am I emotionally involved with? What kind of ideas am I thinking? You see, this is the process. And as you understand it, then you can keep reflecting in your own life, and you'll know what's going on inside. You can always tell what's going on inside by what's happening on the outside. You know, James Allen, in his marvelous little book, As a Man Thinketh, he said, we think in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. Whatever's going on in your outside world is a reflection of what's going on in the inside world. You control the inside. Live from the inside out and quit living from the outside in. So as we go through these lessons, this drawing becomes the genie. And you're going to understand why and how some of the senior executives in the world love this drawing. I'm going to tell you one thing. I love it. It's changed my life. It's helped me understand me better. And because I understand me, I understand you. See, if I stand back and watch how another person behaves, it's telling me what's going on in the mind. Now, the conscious mind is where we gather information. That's where we pile the books up. But that is not the part that controls the actions of the body. It's not what controls what we do. It's the subconscious mind that does that. See, the conscious mind thinks, the subconscious executes what's impressed upon it, and it expresses it with and through the body. It's the mind and the body that produces the results. And every person ought to understand how it works. We teach it to little children, and we see kids go from failing grades to honors just like that. We've all got the potential. We have got deep reservoirs of potential within us. And what we want to do is learn how to bring it to the surface. We're going to show you how to take all the knowledge your people have already gathered and how to put it to work. And you know where it goes? Right to the bottom line of your financial statement, of their report card, of their bank account. Every person has genius locked up within them. What we have to do is bring it to the surface. That's what this little stick person does. See, when we're thinking of ourselves, we get very confused thoughts. When we bring the stick person into play, we start to see the mind and the body. And we start to understand, if I'm doing this, it's because of what's going on in here. And if I want to change my behavior and results, I've got to change what's going on in the subconscious mind. You're going to learn to love this little drawing, the stick person. It certainly is the genie, and it's going to be the genie in your company. So do you see, when we talk about thinking into results, that's exactly what it's all about. Do you know that all the great leaders all down through history have agreed on one point? They've disagreed on virtually everything else. Every one of them, without exception, have agreed that we become what we think about. Do you know the problem with most people? Most people don't think. Earl Nightingale, my old employer and my mentor, he said if most people said what they were thinking, they'd be speechless. I'm inclined to agree with him. Dr. Ken McFarland, who's gone now, but he was a superintendent of schools over in Kentucky. And he was just an incredible human being, one of America's greatest speakers. He said 2% of the people think, 3% think they think, 95% would rather die than think. You'll say, well, everybody thinks. I'll tell you what to do. Start to pay attention to what people are saying. They'd never say what they were saying if they were thinking. Start to pay attention to what people are doing. They'd never do what they're doing if they were thinking. No. Mental activity does not constitute thinking. See, those sensory factors are like 6-lane highways. There's information rushing into people's conscious mind all the time. And some of it seeps into the subconscious. That's why they start doing this and they stop. They go over here and they stop and they go over there. Very few people are focused. We're going to show you, when we go into the lessons on the mental faculties, how to shut off those highways so that all this information that's rushing in and causing conscious confusion stops. And you become focused, dedicated, and disciplined. That's when your life's going to change. Study this little stick person. Take the lesson that's just on the stick person and review it over and over and over again. Start to see yourself as the stick person, and you'll see everybody else as one. And then you can observe what they're doing, and you know what's going on in their mind. And if you want to get them to change what they're doing, you're going to have to help them understand what's causing them to do what they're doing. I don't care if it's your children or if it's your employees. That's the way it works. I love this little drawing. It has certainly changed my life, and it'll change yours. It's Bob Proctor. Thank you.
So that is a lot and amazing. Again, I have been studying this every day since 2017. And like Chris said earlier, you hear it differently every time. You're going to hear something different. I've gone through Thinking into Results, the 12-lesson course, year after year after year, and it only gets better. So new people that haven't heard it, or anyone, I would love to just get your reaction or aha, what's coming to mind after hearing that? Anyone?
Sorry, I came in like halfway through it. So
You're good.
I gotta go back and re-listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, I would say it's just being aware of just being more self-aware is really what I get from this.
Yeah. In your
you
thoughts,
do just kind of
go ahead.
Well, I feel like you're on autopilot most of the time. A lot of people are, and this takes you a step back, and you have to really think about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and to be more productive. You know, that's what I'm getting from this.
Love it.
I like to, I've seen this before, many times. Well, I should say like 5. And when he talked about the report cards and the balance sheets, and there was a moment where I wanted to go back and hear what he said, because he said, you know, it only tells you about the past and it shouldn't dictate anything about your future. And I do practice that sometimes. I'll go in and I'll look at my numbers and I'll, you know, base what I'm doing in the future on the past. And that's like, it doesn't serve me. And I know that. And that's why I don't usually look at it as often, because I'm like, well, it's not helping me. So that makes so much sense now.
Love it. I love it. Anyone else? So once I get going, I get going. Yeah. And I love that. And that's where, again, we get into the higher faculties, which are perception, will, imagination, intuition, memory, and reason. So that's for when you tap into your higher faculties, which we're not taught in school. We're taught the 5 senses: hear, smell, taste, touch, see. And that's where we let all the outside information come into our conscious mind, and we're just reacting and living from our 5 senses, and we're ignoring our intellectual faculties and our higher faculties. So that's where, again, yes, the report card, the balance sheet, our results today. And when you're looking at your bank account, or you're looking at your numbers, or you're looking at the scale, or whatever you're looking at today, is just a reflection of the past and what you were thinking or doing, or who you were then. And now your results are a fact of that. So what happens is, what we do is we look at the numbers, we look at the statements, we look at the scale, and we let that dictate how we feel and the vibration we're in. And it just, that's where the circle, you just keep going around in a circle, and nothing's changing, because nothing changes if nothing changes. And that's why it's important to look at your paradigms, your programming, your habitual habits as just that. In a different lesson, again, I know we're jumping around lessons, there's 12 of them. What Bob talks about is that our paradigms and our habitual habits, which are in our subconscious, many that we're living from today, and that dictate how we show up, what we do and what we don't do, were formed by the time we were 5 to 8 years old. Our environment that we grew up in is so important to understand, and it was just so impactful, because when you are born and when you are a child growing up, your conscious mind is wide open. You are just taking everything in. You have the ability to accept and reject, but you haven't really honed in, or that muscle isn't quite developed yet. So everything that's coming at you, you're just soaking into your subconscious. So a lot of those statements that we heard as children, especially so many people, next to confidence is money paradigms. Who do you think we are? Rockefeller? Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Why would you think? And we're just shut down. And that's just one aspect of what we've grown up in. Why do we eat the foods we eat? The languages we speak, who we are. Again, it's all just the programming that went on around us. And what's important to point out is that I truly believe that, right or wrong, good or bad, our parents or our guardians or whoever we grew up with did the very best they could with the resources and the knowledge and the know-how they had at that time. And the beautiful thing is now, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever age, we don't have to choose to live by those anymore. We can break free from them. And it's through thinking into results and the repetition of this program that you can start to deprogram those paradigms that no longer serve you anymore and replace them with what does. And that's where you start living from the future. You start picturing in your mind and emotionally connecting to your future self. your C goals that we talked about yesterday, and really diving in and understanding that if you are looking at your bank account and you're thinking debt, and how am I going to get out of debt? And I have all this debt and debt, you're calling debt into your life, and you're only going to get more debt because that is what you're focusing on. So what Bob says is set a repayment program, let that go and focus on prosperity. Put that on the screen of your mind through your imagination, really showing up and connecting to what it is you want. And that is the only prerequisite. You have to want it. You have to want it so badly that it's going to be a stubborn goal that you are not going to give up on, that it's going to get you out of bed every day. It's your big why. It's what you want more than anything. And through connecting to that C goal in the morning, during the day, at night, and visualizing, doing the recording exercise and listening to your future self every day. It's through repetition, through your conscious mind, that's going to seep into your subconscious, and you're going to impress it upon your subconscious, and that will become your new paradigms, your new way of thinking, your new habitual habits. And that is where it can get really, really tough going, I guess I could say, because what happens is when we have this amazing C goal in our conscious mind, and then we get a little bit excited and you feel your vibration in your body and you're like, oh, and you want to act on it and you want to move on, and you're like, that would be amazing. That's so, oh, I could do that, and you get really excited, you get really amped up, and then the paradigms show up and it tells you why you can't. What are you thinking? You could never, you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the resources. And that's where the C goal then fades and you just stay exactly where you are. Because it's the fear of faith. You can choose faith that the way will be shown, because if your C goal is big enough, which it should scare you and you don't know how to get it. So through connecting to your C goal every day and feeling it as if it's already here and done, that is where the beauty is. And that's where the people, the places, the money, all of it will show up for you. But so many people let their paradigms that aren't even really your paradigms, they're generations of paradigms that live inside of you, they let those take over. And they listen to the paradigms, and truly the paradigms are in a way trying to protect us and keep us where we're at. And it's recognizing that. And I love the awareness, autopilots. That's what you had said, Stephanie. It's awareness around all of this, because once you become aware of this and you continue to study it and you continue to understand it, and at a different level, and you go, deeper and deeper and deeper, it's through the study and through the understanding. You can't know this enough. You will never be a master of this. Bob will say he left our earth physically last about a year ago. He will tell you that until the day he left this earth, he fought his paradigms every single day. We will fight our paradigms every single day until we leave this earth. It's through study and knowing yourself better and understanding this process and the awareness it creates that you can choose differently. So that's where I talk about, if you don't like your results, what the spreadsheet's saying, what the report card's saying, what the bank account's saying, if that's not the result you want, you back it up through to your thoughts. What are you letting in repeatedly to your conscious mind? Now go back to the same, you are some of the 5 people you hang out with the most. That is a direct reflection of why they say that. Because what you're listening to, what you're reading, who you're talking to, what conversations you're having, all of that's going around on the outside of you that you're hearing, all of that is going to, through repetition, go into your subconscious. So if there's a change you want to make, truly need to back up and start with your thoughts. And in the beginning, when I got into this information, I actually got a little scared because I truly within 6 months needed a telescope to look back and see who I once was. I changed that much once I understood this. And I was scared for my relationship, for my marriage, for the people around. Like, how do I do this? Like, now my you can't unknow this. And once you're aware of it and you have the awareness, you're like, how do I do this? You know, I was really quite nervous and a little bit of anxiety around it. And my coach at the time, she said, it's really through entrainment. See, what you do is now you're aware. You can't become unaware, and you hold your vibration, because the vibration we're in your subconscious through what you're thinking and how you're feeling, that's put your body in action. And that's how you get your results. So what she said to do is when you're at a higher vibration, see, we're vibrating right here. And when you start to understand this and your awareness goes up about this, and you're just like, whoa, your vibration, you're vibrating differently than you once were through the awareness and the understanding. So what happens is most of us, especially women, especially moms, and the empathy, you know, the empathetics and all that, what we do is so that these people think we understand them, we drop back down. Oh, I feel ya. I understand you. Oh, you know, and we go back down there and we go back in the muck with them because that's what we know. That's what they know. That's where we're used to playing. And what's so important about this information is once you know this and you're aware of it and you understand it, you hold it. You hold your vibration, which is through a whole lot of the training and obviously thinking the results and coaching and mentoring. This is where we see things that you may not see. And this is where we see the 50,000 foot view and you're stuck in the 50 to 5,000 foot view. That's why it's so important to find a coach or a mentor can help you through this. Because what happens is so many of us will just keep dropping down and dropping down. And that's very confusing. And you're not going to get the results you want. You hold, and these people will do one of two things. They will either come up, it could be a month process, it could be a year process, it could be 5 years process, it could be never. They could just do this, and this is what it is, or they eventually will go away. Now, I know with family and close relationships, and a lot of people I coach have this. Most of us have this. I have this in my life with a very close family member. And they're just stuck. And they're not wanting to be aware. They don't care. They don't want to know this. They're even getting a little pissed off that you know this and you're holding here because they're used to you coming down here with them. But you hold up here and they're like, this isn't how we play. This isn't where we go. This isn't how this happens. You come and you commiserate with me. We talk about how horrible it is, how bad that is, how much that person sucks. What do you like? What is this? And it's very confusing to them. And what we usually do is we'll come back down, we'll go back up. And it's again, hold strong in your new vibration with who you are based on the awareness you have now. And I promise you, I've been doing this for years. They'll start coming. It could take years, but you'll hear the things. And you'll be like, what did he just say? Like, all right, I get it. It works. I promise you. And yet it's through the awareness, it's through the study, it's through understanding, it's through you making a choice that you want to be different, that you want to get your goals, that you want to have the life and be in the pool that plays in the 5%. So what you get to decide is, are you going to be in the 90 to 95% of the population that just doesn't think and does what they do because that's what they do, because that's what you do? Or are you going to graduate and really pour into yourself and become aware of how the 5% are doing this? Because I'm going to tell you one thing. If I'm sitting here again and I can do this, and I've done this year after year, there is no reason you can't. Anyone can't do this. We are all connected. We are all 100% energy. The people that make the 3% that make the 1% of the, are the 1% that make the 3%, they are the same as us. There's no one that's better, no one that's worse. We are all connected. So it's through understanding the laws of the universe. It's through understanding your vibration and the frequency you're on. I know The Secret, they talk about the law of attraction. And Bob Proctor was in The Secret, if you've seen it. Great movie. It opened thousands and millions of people's awareness of it, and know that the law of attraction is a secondary law. The first law is the vibration. It's what vibration you're in. And when you hook to a frequency, which is where the law of attraction comes in, and you have to focus on your vibration. Said a lot. I'm going to pause here. So I want to make this interactive. So what comes up, or what questions do you have? I'd love to hear from you.
I can share too, since we've been coaching, and I had a personal family member that I was struggling with, and I, followed the advice of holding my vibration. It was really tough the first couple times that I was tested, and I just held my vibration. And since then, which has only been about like a month, my tough family member, it's been really funny to see, because I give them love, like you say, if someone's bothering you, send them love. And this person said to me, I don't want your gratitude. She said, I don't want it. And so I was like, okay. So I just held myself where I was. And I found now that this family member doesn't even engage me at all in any of those negative anything. So it's almost like I put up a deterrent, and she doesn't even come near me with it. So it does work. Even with those really close family members that, created your paradigm, helped create those. Yeah. So stick with it. It really works.
Yeah. I know. And it was just, and that's another thing, because Bob was the first coach I hired, much like we're working together right now. And he said, and I said, well, it's my, it's someone that's really close to me. How I can't just like not show up or be there. That's not what I want either. And he said, just don't go as often and don't stay as long. Still engage, and yet choose when you show up and how you show up, and get mentally prepared for it. And if you're not dropping down here where they want you, you hang up here, they will go find someone else that will play down here with them, just like she's doing. Because I don't want this. I want this. It's a choice. Every day we wake up, the beautiful thing is we get to choose. Who do you want to be today? What vibration do you want to be? How do you want to show up? Are you going to start your day giving gratitude and thanks for 10 things? Write them down, 10 things. And after each one, say why. Why am I grateful for that? And really connect to it and feel it and get in the vibration with it. And then after your 10 things of gratitude, move forward and send love to 3 people that are bothering you, or that you've had a falling out with, or you're arguing with, or it's not going well. Send love to 3 people. And everyone's like, well, I'm not gonna do that. They don't deserve my love. They're horrible. They just said this to me. They really hurt me. That it's just so infuriating. And the thing is when you sit in that, and I did this for 10 plus years. I mean, this low energy of the victim mode of that person did this and they keep doing that, and they are just making me so mad and miserable and angry and frustrated. How could they? You sit there, that's like grabbing a piece of coal and throwing it at them and missing. You're going to get burned. Drinking poison and expecting them to die. It's only going to hurt you. So what you do is you send them love, and it really has nothing to do with them. What that does is you can't be in gratitude and appreciation in a negative vibration at the same time. So when you choose to send them love or to send them gratitude, it's through doing that you will raise your vibration. And that's how you get to, that's the vibration you get to come from, not this victim. They did it, they're horrible, it's all about them, nothing about me. It's taking 100% responsibility that every morning you get up, you choose, you get to choose. And that's a beautiful thing. And then the third thing to do in the morning after you do your 10 things of gratitude, send love to 3 people that are bothering you, is sit for 5 minutes and ask for guidance. If you meditate, do a quick 5-minute meditation. Just open your mind to hear what's the guidance for the day. And you might not hear anything, and your mind will not quiet down. It could take weeks, if not months, to get this down. It's not an easy thing to do, because our minds, unless we start slowing them down and opening up to receive information from our higher faculties from the inside out, we're not stopping and we're not thinking. We're just getting on the wheel and running and running and running. Another thing Bob said to do is when you're in a situation or you're having those conversations, which you will with people that you've engaged with at that level, at that lower vibration, and you want to hold up, he said an easy thing to say is, that's interesting, and then change the subject in a way, or start another conversation, or just move away from that. And if they want to just combat and engage, then just remove yourself from the situation sooner than you had thought you were going to.
So here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
I obviously am a realtor, and so I have found, now that I've been practicing this, that there are clients that I've known from my past, like 10 plus years ago. And I know for a fact that they are not people that are going to meet me at my vibration.
Mhm.
So when it's a client, like I want to buy a house, and it's good, I know their brother or something. So I know that their lifestyle is not going to be something I want to engage in. So I'm like, okay, how do I hold myself but still try to offer them service? I obviously wouldn't want to refer them to a close realtor friend of mine, because I think they would just be difficult clients or something, so it's like, what do you do in those situations?
You can refer them to me. I like difficult clients.
Okay.
I would do it.
I love it. Yes, no, and it's clients, it's family members, it's all the same. It's all the same in how we choose to show up. So, and maybe you can ask your question a different way if I'm not hitting it right, but what you do is you are now showing up and serving at a certain level. And that's what we do as realtors. We show up and we serve at a certain level, and we give a certain level of service. So if they, it's almost make a game out of it. You have fun with it, like challenge them by saying little things. I mean, I remember one of my friends who had found this information before I can look back and connect the dots, and just these little truth bombs she would drop here and there throughout the months and years that were implanting. But I wasn't ready, and I'm not hearing that. And I'm here. I'm not go. Who are you? Like, no, I'm miserable. I want to be miserable. They're wrong. I'm right. Da 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 da. So I holding where you're at in your vibration and dropping those little truth bombs in. And you can see how you'll find out very quickly how far you can push or not with those. And yet at the same time, it's testing them a little bit, coming from where you are. And the thing to know about being in real estate, being in sales, being in relationships, being a coach, whoever it is, what I had to learn, because if you've ever done the DISC profile, I'm a high I, which means I want everyone to like me. I'm social. I have, everyone's my friend, this and that. I had to learn that not everybody's my people, and I am not everybody's people. So what we do in our businesses, in our personal lives, is you have to choose your boundaries. You have to choose to let go of, detach from the outcome, or detach from, I need this sale, or it would be good, and really look at, who do you want to serve? Who do you want to show up and put your energy towards? Because I'm going to tell you, some clients take 5 to 10 times the amount of time and energy and effort than these clients that take just a little bit, because they're your people. You guys are in the same vibration. You work well together. Like energy attracts like energy. And when you try to insert an energy that's not working with yours, the amount that you will have to invest in, you could go out and get 2 to 3 to 4 more clients at your right vibration and at your right energy. So it's giving yourself permission to refer out the ones that just might pull on you, that aren't your people. We try to show up and serve everyone. And I've learned that it's just, you can, absolutely, you can serve everyone. And yet it's finding the ones that you're in harmony with and can show up and serve at the level you want to.
Yeah, because I think when I received a text message that they're, ready or whatever, but, of course I know some background story from the brother, that he's having dependency issues and he's having some, financial issues and things that I definitely do not want to step into. However, like you said, just maybe doing what I always do and at least taking that first step to make the conversation happen instead of being fearful. And, I just don't want to have that and encourage that energy. But like you said, you don't have to. By just taking that first step and even having a conversation, then you can feel it out that way. Maybe not meet in person, but maybe just a phone call or something. So that helps me, because I always come from a giving. I want to contribute. So maybe they're not ready to get pre-approved right now. This sounds like there's going to be some work done. So I can at least do what I do and just help give them the resources and maybe not be the resource for them.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of what we do. We can choose, as much as they choose us, we can choose them. And that's where you really start to understand. And that so many people in business, regardless of what business, are really scared to niche down to a certain market, because then if I go here, I'm losing all this. Like, what about all those people? And again, it's in the beauty of finding your lane and who you show up to serve at the highest level and what lights you up and where you play at the highest level of energy. That's where you can really, there are plenty of people out there, and there are plenty of, Candace, you're amazing with referrals across country. You could bring that even here, so it's choosing where you put your energy. And again, the boundaries and the calendar, and we know that's a whole nother Zoom. And at the same time, we teach people how to treat us. So you choose, you put your line in the sand, or, plant your flag, or whatever you call it, and you decide who your people are. And if you take a text message, or if you take a call at 10 o'clock at night from a client or an agent or a coworker or whomever, know that you're teaching them. You can call me at 10 o'clock at night. I'll answer, not a problem. And inside you're like, oh, they don't respect me. They don't appreciate me. I can't believe they would call. Like, I have kids, and you're just like all mad. And shame on you. That's 100% on you. Take responsibility. Show up and teach people. Leave a voicemail, whatever. When you meet a client or you take on a business partner, or you're, in your business, post your hours. Make it known up front. I work here and here until here. And if it's not an emergency, which 1 to 5% of what we have come into our lives are actual emergencies, it can be dealt with the next day. That was so hard for me in the beginning, because I am a yes, 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 yes. I'm your girl. And when I jumped out of my 13-year career and into real estate, 100% commission, had no income coming in, credit cards were maxing. This is in 2014 when gas was $5 a gallon. And I was a showing specialist. I was filling my tank every other day. So I have been there. And it's through that where I was saying yes to everything, because come hell or high water, this was going to work. I was not going to fail. And in being so persistent on this, I let my relationship go. I let my being a mother go. I was so focused that at one point my husband looked at me, he's like, I'm done. This is not, it's not worth the money. It's not worth the time. I don't care. Go back to your old job. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep saying you'll be there and then not show up. Boundaries. It's just, and I learned it the hard way. And that's, I think, one of my passions for coaching, especially new agents or, just coaching in general is I failed forward hard and I failed forward a lot. And if I can take that and I can take that from my years and quarter it, half it or quarter it down, and people can learn from what I've done, oh, I'll do that all day long. Absolutely.
I like also, like you said one time too, just when you put anything on your schedule, I always ask myself the question, if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? So that helps me a lot.
Absolutely. And everything's an appointment as you're creating these boundaries and as you're getting your calendar up and running and you're looking at your day. I used to, before, obviously the last 2 years in real estate have been pretty crazy, but before that, you could lock your calendar. So by noon or 1, I locked my calendar. So if a client's like, oh, I want to see this property, can we go tonight? I'd be like, well, how about tomorrow when we could go and look at a house 2 to 3 times? So yeah, it's choosing to lock your calendar at a certain point, not make everything an emergency or everything that has to be done now, and faith first, family next, vacations, and then work. And prioritize your calendar that way, fill it up that way, color code it that way. And when business comes in and they say, can we meet up on tomorrow at 10? And you look and you have faith, or it's in the summer and you have something with your kid. You say, I have an appointment at 10, but how would 1 work? 9 out of 10 times, that's fine. Perfect. But we all of a sudden are like, okay, they need me at 10. All right. So I'll have to move this and this and this. And we're trying to move everything around. Okay, well, Johnny can wait. It's my son. I'll move him. And no, just ask the question. You don't have an appointment, and everything is an appointment on your calendar, whether it's faith, whether it's family, whatever it is, it's an appointment. Because I've learned that what's important to you is not important to your clients in some cases, especially your personal life. They might get frustrated if you'd rather go watch your kid play baseball than show them a house or do what you do. So I have an appointment. How would this work? Or, and this again is a whole nother call, leverage. You don't have to be everything to everyone. Your clients, your family, what can you leverage out? I got a showing specialist because it was that I love real estate. I love it. And at one point it flipped and I was frustrated. I was resentful. And I figured it out. And I just had this like weird feeling. It's because I wanted to be at my kids' games. And the more games I missed, or the more things I missed out on, the more it would just creep up. And there was a point where all of a sudden I was just like, ugh. Leverage. I don't have to show the houses. I can still write. I can still negotiate. I can still do everything. But what I paid my showing specialist was far more. I should have paid her more because of what I value and because of my vibration and where I want to show up. Get a cleaning lady, get this, get that, leverage some of the stuff out that you don't like to do, or you don't do well, or you don't want to do. There are people that do and do it really well and want to.
I think it's kind of cool when you do start doing that. It's amazing to see how accommodating your clients will be. So most of the time I'm showing houses during the day when I want to be working so I can spend time with my son. I'm a single parent. So that's so cool. Or then too, you start seeing sometimes things in other people as well, like your kids. So when I say I have an appointment and my son says, we're just going to practice. And I say, yeah, that's an appointment. And he feels really special because I am showing him that he is important and he is an appointment in my calendar. So it kind of shows, it really helps in all ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you get to be at that vibration, and you get to be, your vibe attracts your tribe. How you like energy attracts like energy. So then you start surrounding yourself with the other people that can support you, or I'll help you. Can you help me? Leverage it that way. It doesn't even have to be a paid leverage. Find the people, because we all need leverage at some point in some place in our lives. That's what all those Facebook groups are about for the most part. How can we help each other? And if you show up in every part of your life, or every group, or every encounter, and you find what you can give versus what you can get, you come up from a contribution standpoint, that's a whole new world open, and a whole new vibration, and it is beautiful. Yeah, love it. Wonderful. Well, good. Well, we're coming up on the hour. I just always, these fly by. Tomorrow, just like today and just like yesterday, my favorite. Oh my goodness. This one is impactful. Terror barrier. Why do we hit it and bounce off? It will become very apparent, and it's an amazing one, and I'm so looking forward to it. So I will definitely be posting this replay again on my YouTube and my Facebook, so you can watch it. Like Bob said, I've watched these videos hundreds of times, and I see it differently every time. You cannot watch this, you cannot know this, you cannot study enough, because it's like dipping your toe in a stream. You're never dipping in the same water, because you are never the same. So I encourage you to do a little bit more studying, do a little reflecting, thinking. You have my link. Schedule one-on-one with me. Call me, text me, email me if I can be helping or supporting you in any way, or if you have questions, I'm here and happy to help. All right, till tomorrow, make it a great day and start thinking into results.
Thank you.
Bye.